The story begins with a loving couple enjoying a fancy wedding. The bride, named Hong Hae-in, is the daughter of the most influential conglomerate in Korea. She marries Baek Yoon-woo, who works as a legal director in her company. Now they've been married for 3 years, which makes people curious about how two people from different social backgrounds get along. During an interview about their married life, Yoon-woo answers casually but Hae-in's response arrogantly, as their marriage clearly has faced challenges. Their encounter began when Hae-in behaved badly at work. She got frustrated trying to use the photocopier and hit it several times. At that moment, Yoon-woo tried to advise her, worried that her stubborn and careless behavior might get her in trouble or fired from the company. As time went by, when it rained, Yoon-woo kindly offered his umbrella to Hae-in. Suddenly, he began to talk about his family and personal life. He revealed that he graduated from Seoul National University, and he is a source of pride for the Yongdori village, where his family is the richest and most respected. Yoon-woo expressed his intention to take care of his future wife, suggesting she doesn't need to work. All of this was his way of expressing his feelings and proposing to Hae-in. Upon learning about Hae-in's wealthy family background, Yoon-woo abruptly quits his job and becomes unreachable. Hae-in then travels to the Yongdori village by helicopter to romantically reunite with Yoon-woo. In the present, during an interview, Yoon-woo assures that their marriage is very happy and they still deeply love each other. However, rumors soon surface about their impending divorce. The following day, Hae-in continues her regular work routine at the office. During an evaluation meeting, she proposes closing down underperforming outlets in her mall to maintain the company's profit margin. However, Yoon-woo's legal team rejects the idea, leading to a heated discussion. Despite Hae-in's insistence, Yoon-woo firmly refuses, fearing legal repercussions that could harm the Queen Group, and this disagreement further strains their relationship. Concerned about rumors surrounding their relationship, Hae-in's family holds a meeting. They worry about the impact of the strained relationship on both their reputation and the workplace atmosphere. To prevent further gossip, they urge Hae-in and Yoon-woo to have a child soon and suggest Yoon-woo pursue an MBA abroad. Hae-in agrees to her parents' wishes, suggesting they hire a nanny for the baby's care, considering their hectic schedules. Yoon-woo is puzzled by Hae-in's proposal, given the current state of their relationship. Shortly after, Yoon-woo storms out of the house in anger. Meanwhile, Hae-in is seen scolding her brother Soo-cheol for confronting Yoon-woo during the family meeting. Yoon-woo appears frustrated, behaving strangely and crying when drunk, as he struggles with the decision to divorce Hae-in. Journalists continue to hound him for details about his personal life, knowing he's often the one sorting out the chaos in Hae-in's family. He's insulted and accused of lacking self-respect, tarnishing his reputation in the legal profession. The Queen Group family has a tradition where men and their spouses prepare feasts for family rituals, and that day marks the anniversary of the late chairman's wife, Young Mi-suk's death. The family gathers for the event, but the chairman worries about Bom-ja's presence. Recently released from prison with Yoon-woo's help, Bom-ja causes a scene during the ritual, where she blames her father's girlfriend for her mother's heart attack after witnessing their affair and resents being imprisoned by her father. Meanwhile, Mr. Hong, the eldest son, arrives and is surrounded by journalists, surprising them as he's known for his ongoing disagreement with his family. The men from the Queen Group's in-law family feel let down for not being part of the ritual ceremony, despite being hired to prepare the dishes. Meanwhile, Yoon-woo is tasked by his father-in-law, Bom-jun, to handle a person he sees as a traitor, wishing for their public humiliation and suffering. Yoon-woo feels overwhelmed by the dynamics within the Queen Group family. He then seeks help from a psychiatrist due to severe stress. From the questionnaire he completes, it's evident he strongly desires to divorce Hae-in. The family's traditions, late-night meetings, and odd customs weigh heavily on him. He's frustrated with the family members, especially his father-in-law, who constantly expects him to solve their problems. However, his greatest resentment is towards Hae-in, for her selfish behavior. He regrets believing her promises before marrying her and feels trapped because of her. Despite this, he believes he can't divorce her, fearing his father-in-law would ruin his life. Knowing this, Grace subtly suggests that Hae-in should undergo skin treatment at her clinic, because she thinks Hae-in looks stressed and Hae-in rebukes Grace for being rude. But the woman next to Grace is annoyed by Hae-in's behavior. It turns out Grace meets Yoon-woo and reveals that she runs a beauty business and often arranges marriages for wealthy families. She asks Yoon-woo to represent Dae-dung's wife in an inheritance dispute. Grace also discloses a secret, that Hayan wrote a will before their marriage, leaving everything to herself in case of her death, with Yunwoo receiving nothing from her estate. Hearing this, Yunwoo only reacts with a blank stare. Grace also suggests that Hayan doesn't seem to need a husband. She just wants another person to serve her family, making Yunwoo a target because he always obeys Hayan. Yunwoo is annoyed and straightforward when Hayan takes him somewhere. Shortly after, he returns to Yongduri to see his family, who are surprised by his sudden visit. His mother invites him to eat and taste her cooking. At that moment, Misun asks Yunwoo why he wasn't present at his father's birthday celebration. Yunwoo explains that this incident has strengthened his decision to start divorce proceedings with Hayan. He mentions feeling deeply dissatisfied in their marriage, despite advice from his parents, who highlight the challenges in marriages. Yunwoo remains firm in his choice to divorce. In a surprising revelation, Hayan shares that after leaving the office, she visited a doctor. She reveals a diagnosis, with only 3 months left to live. Though the exact meaning of her words is unclear, upon hearing this, Yunwoo changes his mind about divorcing her. Instead, he wants to apologize and improve how he treats her. Tears run down his face as he confesses his love for Hayan. This sudden change in Yunwoo's attitude leaves Hayan both touched and puzzled. The scene then showing a flashback to their wedding celebration, where Yunwoo and Hayan made a heartfelt video. In the video, they promised to prioritize happiness, taking care of each other, and maintaining enduring love. With worry, Yunwoo asks if Hayan's claim of having only 3 months to live is true. At that moment, Hayan tries to convince him to go to the hospital with her, but he refuses loudly. As she head to the hospital, Hayan starts to feel unwell, with her vision getting blurry. She only remembers being in the hospital lobby before suddenly finding herself in the doctor's examination room. Lately, Hayan has been suffering from frequent headaches and memory loss, often forgetting recent events, including important appointments. The doctor diagnoses her with cloudcytoma, an extremely rare condition with few documented cases worldwide, and Hayan becomes the first patient in Korea to face this condition. The tumor cells have spread along her cranial nerves, especially near her temporal lobes, causing recurring memory loss. In later stages, patients may experience hallucinations and changes in personality. As the doctor explains the prognosis, Hayan's symptoms return, making her vision seem like a confusing snowy landscape. Unfortunately, the doctor says there's no definite cure for this condition at the moment. He can only prescribe medication to ease the symptoms, since the disease cannot be cured. Hayan feels overwhelmed with anger and disbelief about her situation. She's always taken good care of her health, so she struggles to understand why she's now facing such a serious illness. Yunwoo tries to comfort her, hoping she'll feel better soon, but he doesn't fully grasp her emotions. He considers not going through with divorcing Hayan, since they'll be separated in 3 months anyway. Despite his inner conflict, he pretends to be sad and cries. The following day, when Hayan wakes up, she's surprised to see Yunwoo. He kisses her suddenly, which she assumes is just a morning gesture. She feels disappointed seeing him sleep peacefully while she had a restless night. Feeling the weight of her illness, she asks him not to tell her family, fearing their rejection and the possibility of them trying to take her assets. And she's determined to prevent that from happening. Meanwhile, Sucheol tells his grandfather about the failure to secure an agreement for the organic coffee venture. This upsets the chairman, leading to an anger that causes him to have a panic attack and faint. The chairman feels even more distressed by Sucheol's inability to handle the situation, especially he would have lost 8 billion won without Yunwoo's help. On the other hand, Hayan's mother is furious that they couldn't reach Yunwoo when Sucheol was in trouble, blaming both Hayan and herself for Sucheol's problems. Despite Hayan trying to explain her own serious situation, her mother seems uninterested. Meanwhile, Yunwoo talks to his friend about not divorcing Hayan, seeing their upcoming separation as a fortunate event. He tells his friend about Hayan's limited time left to live, and his friend sees it as a stroke of luck for Yunwoo, advising him to take advantage of this opportunity. His friend suggests getting Hayan to change her will to secure her assets. The following day, Yunwoo seems to follow this advice, acting more romantically towards Hayan. He gives her a beautiful bouquet on their anniversary, gets closer to her during meals, and shows extra concern at work, asking about her health when she coughs and giving her his jacket when she's cold. However, Hayan feels uncomfortable with Yunwoo's exaggerated attention. Meanwhile, tensions rise during a family dinner when Hayan's mother announces her plan to sue Hayan over a hypermarket being built on her land. Ha-in argues with her parents, and Yunwoo tries to calm things down before taking Ha-in away from the argument. Despite his good intentions, Ha-in misinterprets his caring actions and asks him to go back to his usual indifference. On the other hand, Yunwoo shared with Young-ki his plan to make a romantic gesture as a final attempt to win back Ha-in's love. Despite their fading affection, they had a history of caring for each other, giving Young-ki hope that Yunwoo could reignite their love. The following day, Yunwoo had to step in once again to handle Bomja's disruptive behavior at her ex-husband's wedding. He warned her against acting recklessly during her probation, explaining the potential consequences she could face. The chairman, worried about Bomja's emotional state, suggested that at 50 years old, she should be wiser. Bomjun advised Seonhwa to be lenient with Ha-in and avoid reopening painful memories of Suwon's death. Although she understood, Seonhwa couldn't shake off the sadness from that tragic event, indicating that her feelings towards Ha-in might not change. On the other hand, finding Yunwoo asleep at his desk, Ha-in stumbled upon articles about a rare curable disease. She confronted him, suspecting hidden motives, but her perspective changed when she realized he genuinely wanted her to get better. Encouraged by his concern, Ha-in decided to work with researchers and provide funding to speed up finding potential treatments. However, unknown to her, Yunwoo had different thoughts than she assumed. The following day, Ha-in attended the Hersina banquet, where important investors like David and Herman were expected. There were rumors that they had significant influence over oil in the Middle East and planned to invest heavily in Korea. When she arrived, a friend criticized her for coming alone, saying that Herman preferred to do business with people who had strong connections. Unfortunately, Yunwoo couldn't come because he was busy in court. Shortly after, Ha and her friend again in the restroom, who pitied her for the rumors about her marriage troubles. The friend suggested she find a partner of equal status, like Yoon Song, who would become Herman's right-hand man and earn the trust of sheiks as a financial manager. With Eun Song's help, Ha-in managed to impress Herman, and Yunwoo arrived just in time to join her at the meeting, which went well. At that moment, Ha-in felt satisfied countering her friend's negative remarks, much to her friend's annoyance. Meanwhile, Eun Song introduced himself to Yunwoo, mentioning his past connection with Ha-in and his previous feelings for her. But Yunwoo didn't seem bothered. When Yunwoo came back from the restroom, he felt jealous seeing Ha-in talking with Eun Song, who was known for his wealth and experience on Wall Street. Upon hearing from Grace about Eun Song's invitation to the family hunting event, Seonhwa encouraged Ha-in to invite him. At first hesitant, Ha-in quickly agreed when her mother offered to drop her lawsuit against her. In a rush, she arranged for Eun Song to be flown to the hunting grounds by helicopter. That day, the Queen group prepared for the hunt, with Sucheol teasing Yunwoo about his past unsuccessful hunts. Unaware to Ha-in, she accidentally entered a forbidden area. Despite Yunwoo's attempts to contact her, she didn't respond, leading to his encounter with Eun Song, who criticized him for trespassing. Meanwhile, Ha-in's health worsened, causing her illness to flare up again and leading to hallucinations. Confused and disoriented, she found herself facing wild animals, which triggered memories of past events. As danger approached, Yunwoo quickly intervened, successfully protecting Ha-in by dealing with the threat. The scene then shows 40 years before they got married. Yunwoo took Ha-in on a tour of Yongdori village, pointing out how influential their families were in the area. They had a relaxed moment, eating ice cream, during which Yunwoo commented on Ha-in's clothes, saying he didn't like what he saw as inappropriate attire, often seeing her in old shirts. At that moment, Ha-in felt offended and defended her clothes, saying it was artistic, expensive, and from Europe. Unintentionally, Yunwoo repeated his criticism, saying her style seemed old-fashioned and worn out. Despite his unintentional rudeness, he reassured Ha-in of his commitment to giving her the same comforts he had, planning to rent an apartment and not caring about her family's wealth, promising to support her no matter what. These memories were cherished by Ha-in. In the present, when faced with danger from a wild animal, Ha-in felt safe when Yunwoo intervened just in time to save her. On her way back, Yunwoo showed his caring side by carrying Ha-in, showing how protective he was of her. Shortly after, Sucheol and his father were busy preparing a barbecue when they were surprised to see Yunwoo carrying Ha-in gently. Upon learning about Ha-in's injury, Sucheol quickly told his mother, Seonhwa, who rushed to Ha-in's side with concern. At that moment, Ha-in's wound was taken care of, and many family members came to check on her. After that, they praised Yunwoo for bravely facing the wild boar that had threatened Hayen's safety. Hayen mentioned Yunwoo's skillful shooting, attributing it to his past service in the special forces during his military service. During a dinner with the Queen family, Yunwoo talked about finding a broken fence in a forbidden area, which he suspected was the chairman's hunting trail. He was worried that someone might have led him there to endanger the chairman. In response, the chairman decided to look into the matter, checking dashboard camera and CCTV footage. After that, Bom Joon showed some appreciation for Yunwoo's bravery in protecting his daughter during the meal. Additionally, a man shared a touching story about his loyal dog, who had saved his son from a house fire. Impressed by the dog's intelligence and loyalty, the chairman wanted to buy it, but the man refused, considering his dog as an important part of his family. After dinner, Eun-song approached the man and offered a large amount of money to buy the dog, eventually sealing the deal. On the other hand, feeling uneasy about sharing a room with Hayen, Yunwoo pretended to chat with Sucheol all night to avoid any discomfort. Despite Sucheol's insistence that he rest, Yunwoo remained nervous when Hayen asked for help unbuttoning her shirt due to her injured hands. At that moment, Hayen's recent thoughts about Yunwoo's kind gestures stirred conflicting emotions in her, suggesting a return of feelings for him, evident in her racing heartbeat when she saw him. Feeling troubled by her mixed feelings, Hayen became increasingly frustrated, seeing Yunwoo's actions as attempts to seduce her. Both struggled to sleep, blaming the discomfort on the small, uncomfortable bed. However, the awkwardness of the situation contrasted with their past experience 4 years earlier, when they had shared intimate moments during their visit to Yongdori village. Remembering those moments, where they had shared a bed without hesitation, Yunwoo looked visibly nervous as Hayen recalled their past closeness. The next day, the man felt sorry and begged for his beloved dog back. When Eun-song threatened to harm the dog if the man regretted selling it, Yunwoo stepped in, stopping things from getting worse. Eun-song brushed off Yunwoo's actions as a joke, but Yunwoo found it strange. Meanwhile, after watching the CCTV footage, the chairman suspected Bomsok, one of his sons, as the culprit. In another conversation, an older couple remembered an incident from 10 years ago involving a child from an orphanage. The child, who had received a scholarship from the Queen Group, accidentally killed one of their valuable dogs, and they saw similarities between the child and Eun-song. On the other hand, Hayen's illness didn't respond to treatment, as shown by rejection emails from research teams and labs worldwide. Faced with the possible loss of her Sina and the $1 trillion club, she struggled with the harsh reality of her problem. The potential loss of her expensive collections and prized artworks added to her distress. As time went by, Hayen found herself growing more and more attracted to Yunwoo. She talked to Secretary Now, wondering if it was normal to feel excited upon seeing her husband even after 3 years of marriage. Remembering a friend's similar experience, she admitted being drawn to her husband's appearance, always wanting to hug him because of his charm. However, Secretary Ney suggested that such feelings might be due to illness or neurological issues, making Hayen consider seeing a doctor. Following this advice, she went to a doctor to discuss her symptoms, which also included feeling more empathetic towards others suffering, something she found strange. The doctor explained that such changes could happen to people nearing the end of their lives, but Hayen dismissed the doctor's opinion, doubting their ability to address her concerns. Meanwhile, Yunwoo and his father-in-law visited Bomsok to talk about suspicions regarding his involvement in the hunting incident. At that moment, Bomsok clarified the misunderstanding, admitting that he went to the hunting site to reconcile with his father, Bomjoon. Despite his sincere apology, Bomjoon refused to reconcile, showing the strained relationships within the Queen family, filled with lawsuits and disputes. Yunwoo himself was busy dealing with 7 lawsuits stemming from trivial matters among family members. On the other hand, Bomjoon confirmed Seul-hee's statement, verifying that Bomsok had attended the hunting event. Seul-hee then warned Bomjoon to be cautious of Bomsok, suspecting him of holding resentment since his expulsion. Meanwhile, Grace, under Sunhwa's direction, secretly followed Eun-song, but he caught on to her surveillance. She explained that Sunhwa had assigned her to investigate his background. Their conversation revealed Eun-song and Grace's involvement in several incidents during the hunting event. Meanwhile, Yunwoo confided in his friend about the Queen family's increased attention after he saved Hayen. Yun-ki then praised his actions, advising him to show more affection towards Hayen in hopes of influencing changes in his will when they separated. On the other hand, Yunwoo's siblings traveled to Seoul to prevent his divorce from Hayen. understanding the potential economic consequences of such a split. Upon reaching Seoul, they visited the Queen Department office to meet Hyein. Hearing her explanation, they were surprised by the situation between Hyein and Yoonwoo. Disappointed that Herman had missed the dinner event due to his daughter's accident, Hyein and Eun-song continued their business discussions regarding the development of her Sina later that evening. Upon realizing they were both in Seoul, Yoonwoo contacted his sister, surprising her by revealing he had no plans to separate from Hyein. Concerned about their previous divorce discussions over text, his sister sought clarification. Yoonwoo then tried to reach Hyein, but her phone was intentionally turned off by Eun-song, who questioned Yoonwoo's love for her, casting doubt on his sincerity. Disagreeing with Eun-song's doubts, Hyein defended Yoonwoo, pointing out his consistent support and willingness to face challenges together as proof of his love. However, Eun-song remained doubtful, noting Hyein's uncertainty when expressing trust in Yoonwoo. Meanwhile, Yoonwoo anxiously awaited Hyein's return, upset with Eun-song for letting her get heavily drunk. In her intoxicated state, Hyein made remarks about revenge for betrayal, which worried Yoonwoo. While trying to delete the message from his sister, Yoonwoo accidentally dropped the phone, leading to an unexpected moment where Hyein kissed him. In a flashback to 3 years ago, they'd fondly remembered their romantic trip to Germany, cherishing deep conversations and close moments. After the unexpected kiss, an uncomfortable atmosphere lingered between them. While Yoonwoo considered deleting the divorce message from his sister on Hyein's phone, he accidentally walked in on her taking a shower. Despite his initial intention, he couldn't unlock her phone's password. However, when she came out of the bathroom, he managed to delete the message. When asked about his presence, Yoonwoo nervously claimed he couldn't sleep. Hyein, happy at the thought that Yoonwoo's insomnia was due to concern for her, suggested having a heartfelt conversation later that night. However, Yoonwoo declined, saying she needed rest. Nevertheless, Hyein was pleased by Yoonwoo's continued care. Remembering Hyein's password 1031, Yoonwoo reflected on their bond. Looking back on their marriage, there was a time when they eagerly awaited the arrival of a child, marked by the significance of 1031 as October 31, the expected birth date. They enthusiastically prepared for the baby's arrival, even setting up a special nursery. However, their joy turned to sorrow when Hyein suffered a miscarriage, leaving Yoonwoo deeply saddened by the memory. On the other hand, Mi-seum and Yoon-tae faced their parents' scolding for their neglectful behavior. Mi-seum shared the news of Yoonwoo's decision to call off the divorce, bringing a moment of happiness. Her mother recalled Sinhwa's disapproval of their son's marriage to Yoonwoo, who came from a modest background. At that moment, Bong-ae sympathized, having once struggled with accepting Hyein's perceived humble origins. Despite acknowledging Yoonwoo's flaws, she hoped for Hyein's mother to care for him. Sinhwa criticized Yoonwoo's actions, emphasizing that their family wasn't responsible for their children's marital happiness. The following morning, Yoonwoo's heart raced at the sight of Hyein's beauty as she prepared for her meeting with Herman. Her grace captivated him, lifting his mood and unknowingly deepening his affection for her. After noticing Hyein almost stumble on the escalator, Yoonwoo loudly warned her, attracting attention from nearby people and a mall attendant. He quickly made up an excuse, claiming he was buying shoes for his wife, which he then gave to Hyein. He felt joy when she wore them to the office. However, Yoonwoo's colleagues became suspicious due to Hyein's recent meetings with Eun-song. Despite Yoonwoo's attempts to explain that these meetings were purely business-related, he struggled with feelings of jealousy towards their interactions. On the other hand, Hyein and Eun-song left promptly for a meeting with Herman. During the meeting, Eun-song suggested that Hyein discuss Sarah, Herman's secret mistress, who would work with Hyein on establishing her shop in Versina. This collaboration was successful, securing a business deal with Herman. Upon returning home, Yoonwoo kindly brought a bag of peanut cookies for Hyein. In return, she shared the news of a foundation's collaboration for clinical research on her illness, indicating a recovery chance of over 50%. Despite this positive news, Yoonwoo felt pressure, compounded by his frustration at the prospect of an extended stay with Hyein and the Queen family. These conflicting emotions made him reconsider divorcing Hyein, although he hesitated, considering the potential consequences of such a decision. During the weekend, Eun-song arrived early to meet Hyein and discuss her Sina. But their talk was interrupted by Yoonwoo, who stood between them, watching closely. Yoonwoo sparked tension by suggesting that Hyein was always seeking Eun-song's attention, leading Eun-song to counter, feeling that Hayan often reached out to him for help. Despite being in the middle of a business discussion, Yunwoo seemed unhappy seeing them getting along well. Noticing Yunwoo's constant watch, Eun-song quickly closed the curtains, sensing jealousy in Yunwoo's behavior. On the other hand, Young Ki expressed worry about Yunwoo's apparent lack of hope for a peaceful separation from Hayan, especially upon hearing about her 50% chance of living. Young Ki believed that Yunwoo should see Eun-song's closeness to Hayan as a potential solution to his problem. However, Yunwoo seemed to have a different perspective. Meanwhile, Soo-cheol attempted to discuss a business collaboration with Eun-song, but Eun-song seemed uncertain about accepting the offer. At the same time, Grace showed Seonhwa some photos she had gathered while investigating Eun-song's career. Seonhwa praised Eun-song's accomplishments and wanted him to consider Soo-cheol's proposal. However, Grace hinted that Hayan's partnership with Eun-song might create problems for Soo-cheol's investment plans. Grace continued to imply that Hayan had hidden motives in this matter. It was revealed that Eun-song had devised a malicious plan to create tension between the siblings. Seonhwa was furious with Hayan, believing Grace's claims that Hayan had spoken negatively about Soo-cheol to Eun-song. Feeling unwell, Hayan almost fainted due to her mother's constant nagging. Luckily, Yunwoo caught her before she fell. Seeing her condition, Yunwoo politely asked his mother-in-laws to leave to avoid further upsetting Hayan. Shortly after, Yunwoo suggested to Hayan that she should tell her family about her illness. Although Hayan understood the importance of this, she felt nervous about the potential outcomes, worrying that her family might try to claim her assets. However, she realized that hiding her condition was not the right choice. She clarified that her hesitation didn't come from wanting to avoid burdening her parents, especially considering the pain they experienced from losing a son in the past. Meanwhile, Eun-song seemed to be plotting to disrupt the Queen family business operations, with Chairman Hong Monday as his main target. Eun-song quietly started collaborating with Queen Group executives, using the group's shares as collateral. On the other hand, Bomja introduced one of her sons to the chairman and Bomsok knelt down to express regret for his past mistakes. Despite Bomja's pleas for forgiveness, the chairman remained firm in refusing to accept the apology, deeply hurt by the betrayal. Shortly after, an incident occurred where a customer complained about facial damage caused by a beauty product bought from Mall Queen. The customer became furious and started damaging nearby products. At that moment, Hayan stepped in just as the customer was about to attack a staff member, threatening legal action. Her brave act earned her appreciation from other customers for standing up for her employee. Several days later, the upcoming election for the village head is causing worry for Duk-won, as he sees his opponent using bribery to influence villagers. In response, he arranges a meeting with the villagers, including his son Yoon-ta, whom he scolds and advises for his involvement. On the other hand, Sak-hoon receives a warm welcome during his campaign. However, unlike Duk-won, his speeches become the subject of jokes among the villagers, who even tease about his son's marriage to a wealthy family's daughter. At that moment, Hayan arrives to support her father-in-law's campaign, bringing food trucks to treat the villagers, seemingly prompted by Mi-soon's text message request. Hayan distributes gifts like pricey supplements, scarves, cosmetics, and gloves, quickly renewing the villagers' support for Duk-won. Upon hearing about Hayan's presence in the village, Yunwoo hurries to Yeongdeuri. At the same time, Hayan explores Yunwoo's room, reminiscing about the space, and later sits in the yard listening to a song. Welcomed by one of her nephews, she fulfills Ho-yeol's wish to drive around the village in her car. However, her illness unexpectedly flares up, leading to hallucinations and a sudden feeling of being lost. Upon Yunwoo's arrival, he's warmly greeted by his father and other close family members, who praise him for his contributions to the village. Anxious about Hayan's whereabouts, Yunwoo searches tirelessly until evening when he finally finds her. Concerned for her well-being, he scolds her upon finding her. At first hesitant to share, Hayan eventually confides in him about her recurring illness upon seeing how hard he searched for her. This prompts Yunwoo to embrace her, though she seems unsure. In a light rain, Yunwoo escorts Hayan home, where she explains that she returned to the village after her sister-in-law contacted her, aiming to support her father-in-law's campaign for village head by hosting an event and treating the villagers. The entire Yunwoo family had been anxiously looking for Hayan, relieved when she was found. Touched by their concern, Hayan appreciates the warmth and attention from her extended family. As Yunwoo helps her dry her hair, she feels a bit awkward amidst their care and concern. In a flashback to 2006, When Yunwoo moved to Seoul for his studies, Haein was getting ready to attend school in America. At that time, Haein faced loneliness as her classmates saw her as distant. When she injured her knee while leaving, Yunwoo, coincidentally, was there to help her. In the present, Soo-cheol told his mother about Haein's unexpected return to Yongdori village, discovered through a widely shared social media video with 300,000 views. Despite her familiarity with the villagers, Haein's arrival didn't bring the birthday surprise Sanhwa hoped for, leaving her disappointed. Bong-ye advised against discussing the divorce in Haein's presence, but Duk-won accidentally shared it with his friend Young-song, fearing he might tell others. Late into the night, Duk-won, troubled by the situation, visited Young-song's home, pleading for secrecy. To Duk-won's dismay, Young-song had already told his mother, causing Duk-won further worry despite Young-song's mother's apparent memory loss. Meanwhile, Yunwoo attends to some of Haein's injuries, carefully tending to her wounds. While wrapping a bandage around her injured hand, Haein unexpectedly brings up her illness, expressing worry about her potentially short lifespan. Yunwoo gently scolds her for being pessimistic, encouraging her to regain her former confidence. In response, Haein invites Yunwoo to accompany her to Europe for medical treatment, to which he agrees, promising to go with her to Germany. After leaving Haein, Yunwoo feels unsettled, suddenly overcome by the urge to kiss her. Unable to clear his mind at home, he decides to talk with Yoontae outside, avoiding being alone. Meanwhile, Haein grows anxious about Yunwoo's prolonged absence and tries to contact him. Her disappointment grows when Yunwoo's response only tells her to go to bed, leading her to wonder if he's deliberately avoiding her, which fills her with worry. Listening in on Yunwoo's hesitant conversation only adds to her disappointment, leaving her feeling disheartened and anxious about their situation. Meanwhile, Yunwoo is conflicted about his feelings towards Haein. He realizes that he can no longer ignore her presence as he used to. In a flashback from the past, the recollection of Haein's miscarriage resurfaces, intensifying the strain in their relationship. After the loss, Haein meticulously rearranged the nursery meant for their unborn child. However, a misunderstanding arose, worsening their emotional distance. Yunwoo, who had repurposed the nursery for himself, is seen crying uncontrollably as he recalls this heartbreaking event. Similarly, Haein is shown deeply sorrowful as she remembers the painful ordeal. The following day, as Haein and Yunwoo prepare to leave, an unexpected incident occurs during a family gathering. Young-song's mother suddenly brings up the topic of divorce with Yunwoo, leading Duk-won to step in, attributing her behavior to her mental state. Despite Duk-won's attempts to calm the situation, Young-song's mother persists. Seeing Haein's troubled expression towards Yunwoo, Mi-soon becomes worried, unable to understand the situation in their relationship, despite their previous affection for each other. 4 years ago, Mi-soon suspected that Haein's family might be financially disadvantaged. During a private conversation, Mi-soon emphasized the prestigious status of Yunwoo's family, and even offered money to persuade Haein from associating with her brother. At that moment, Yunwoo intervened and scolded Mi-soon for her behavior. Despite Mi-soon's suggestion to end their relationship due to her belief that Haein wasn't suitable for them, Yunwoo clarified the misunderstanding, affirming his love for Haein alone. Shortly after, Haein expressed her dissatisfaction to Yunwoo about the events of the previous night, displaying a cold attitude. However, their conversation was interrupted by Eun-song, who offered Haein his umbrella. Feeling jealous, Yunwoo questioned Eun-song's presence at their home. Eun-song then explained that he was invited by Haein's mother and would stay temporarily in their guest house. After learning from Grace that Haein and Yunwoo's marriage was troubled, Eun-song showed no surprise to discover they were sleeping separately. Suspected of having hidden motives, Eun-song aimed to worsen their marital problems, ultimately hoping to remove Yunwoo from the house. Despite anticipating resistance from Yunwoo, Eun-song remained confident in his plans, supported by his close relationship with Chairman Hong. The following day, Yunwoo becomes increasingly uneasy as Eun-song arrives at the house. Noticing the strained relationships between Haein and her family, Eun-song sympathizes. He understands the challenges Haein presents and shares a skeptical smile with Soo-cheol regarding their family's superstitious beliefs, such as consulting a shaman and buying talismans to appease her. Seeking further medical advice, Haein learns about CAR T-cell therapy as a potential treatment for her illness. While it offers hope, its effectiveness in treating brain tumors remains uncertain. The doctor advises caution against being overly optimistic about a complete recovery. On the other hand, Sucheol proposes an ambitious business idea to the chairman, outlining plans for a luxury resort that requires substantial funding. With Eun-song's expected investment, Sucheol is confident in the project's success. Yoonwoo stresses the importance of conducting a thorough feasibility study and risk assessment, a suggestion that gains approval from the chairman and Bomjun. Meanwhile, Yoonwoo aimed to recover an important dashboard camera recording from an elderly man, planning to use digital forensics to retrieve its contents, which seemed crucial to him. On the other hand, Seuldi, feeling angered by Bomja's rudeness, confronted her, expressing her built-up frustration over the past 20 years. Despite Bomja reporting the incident to the chairman, it didn't seem to carry much weight. This led Bomja to grow suspicious of Seuldi, prompting her to enlist the help of a private detective to investigate Seuldi's background. Suddenly, Hanan experienced a relapse of her illness, finding herself in a snowy place. Although feeling cold and confused at first, she soon regained consciousness, with Eun-song noticing her distress and helping her to the elevator. Observing their closeness, Yoonwoo couldn't shake off his feelings of jealousy. He asked about Ha-in's well-being, but she seemed indifferent. Despite her condition, Ha-in resumed her professional duties, attending client meetings to assess the feasibility of her scena. On the other hand, Ha-in's decreasing white blood cell count led the doctor to suggest delaying her treatment trip to Germany. Despite this advice and the reluctance of German labs to evaluate her CRT cells in her current condition, Ha-in felt she couldn't wait any longer and left. During the doctor's explanation, Bomja, who was at the hospital for her hand cast, accidentally overheard. Concerned for Ha-in's health, Bomja offered comfort and support, expressing confidence in her recovery with the available resources. At that moment, Ha-in asked her aunt to keep her illness a secret from the family. Despite the doctor's advice, Ha-in insisted on traveling to Germany alone, ignoring Yoonwoo's presence. Bomja informed Yoonwoo of this decision, but he couldn't reach Ha-in because her phone was turned off. Late at night, Yoonwoo joined his friends at the beach, trying to appear calm while feeling deeply distressed and worried about Ha-in. Meanwhile, Ha-in started her medical treatments, which led Yoonwoo to recall their relationship as he watched an interview video about their marriage. Touched by the memories, he became emotional, thinking about their shared dreams of romantic experiences, like their long-awaited honeymoon. Afterward, Yoonwoo decided to go with Ha-in to Germany. However, knowing that her immune cell treatment required extensive research, especially given her recent blood test results, he expected many challenges ahead. The doctor advised him to wait for signs of improvement in Ha-in's condition before making further plans. On the other hand, Ha-in decided to visit a place called Sanssouci, known for its peaceful atmosphere. To her surprise, Yoonwoo showed up there, adding a romantic touch to the moment. Seeing Ha-in struggling in her high heels, he kindly offered to switch them for more comfortable shoes. Yoonwoo chose this place because he knew Ha-in liked its unique name. Sharing his feelings, Yoonwoo remembered their wedding day and how deeply touched he was at that time. Despite Ha-in's earlier promise not to make him cry, he assured her of his constant support in any situation. Ha-in, in return, confirmed that she never meant to keep Yoonwoo away from her. Although they sought comfort in the peaceful place, they both realized that their true comfort came from being together. As they embraced each other tightly, they shared intimate moments, reaffirming their connection. Yoonwoo recalled Ha-in's worry about the length of her fate line, fearing a short life. Lightheartedly, he drew an extra line on her palm with a pen, symbolizing a playful gesture of reassurance. Moral lesson from the story: if you accidentally drop your phone while deleting a divorce message, just draw an extra fate line on your partner's palm for good luck. Because love and laughter can be found in the strangest of situations.